I never thought I'd be the kind of person who would fall for their straight neighbor, but then there he was, standing in the doorway of my apartment, asking for my help, and everything I thought I knew about myself came crashing down in that single moment. It wasn't a typical Tuesday morning. The sky outside my small apartment window was heavy with the threat of rain, the kind of day where the world felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for something. I was in my usual routine, half drunk on coffee, my fingers typing away at my laptop as I worked on a freelance project. Most days I enjoyed the solitude of my apartment. No distractions, no drama, just the gentle hum of my space and the sound of the rain tapping against the windows. Then the knock came. It wasn't the usual knock from the building's maintenance or from a delivery driver. It was a steady, almost hesitant knock. I glanced at the clock. 10:15 a.m. Not a time when most people would come over unless they had something important to say. I opened the door to find Alex, my neighbor. I had seen him around plenty of times, tall, athletic, with messy brown hair that somehow always looked effortlessly perfect. He had that kind of smile that could light up a room even on the cloudiest of days, the kind of smile that made people feel warm. But not for me, not ever. I knew he was straight. He had a girlfriend, after all. They'd been together for as long as I'd lived here. But still, every time I caught him in the hallway or saw him through the thin walls of my apartment, I couldn't help but notice the way his laugh echoed through the building, or the way he looked when he thought no one was watching. His eyes met mine, and I froze for a second. He had this kind of intensity about him, like he was always thinking about something, or maybe someone, but never quite saying it aloud. And in that moment I couldn't tell if it was his usual charm or something more. "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you," Alex said, his voice low and a little uncertain, as if he wasn't sure how to ask. I need your help with something. It's kind of personal." I raised an eyebrow, stepping aside to let him in. "What's up?" He shifted nervously, avoiding eye contact, and for a second I wondered if he was actually going to ask me for something trivial, something like borrowing sugar or asking for directions. But then his eyes finally met mine, and his expression was different, vulnerable even. It's about me and Julia. We're not really working out. I don't know what to do anymore." I felt my chest tighten at the mention of his girlfriend. But more than that, I felt a strange pull in my stomach, an odd mix of curiosity and something I couldn't quite place. I shouldn't have been surprised. After all, I had always known that we were two different worlds, his and mine. But now in this moment something shifted. He was standing here, vulnerable, and asking for my help, and I couldn't help but wonder, was this the moment everything would change? Alex stepped inside, still fidgeting with his hands like he wasn't entirely sure how to start. It struck me for a second. This wasn't the confident, always charming guy I'd seen around the building. No, this was something different, something raw, and it was starting to unsettle me. I closed the door behind him, my mind racing. He was here, really here, in my space, and I was already regretting opening the door. But I couldn't exactly throw him out. Not after that look in his eyes. He was looking at me like he needed help, and I wasn't sure if it was just about fixing his relationship or something else entirely. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I didn't want to dive in too fast. I needed to figure it out, but my brain was a mess of static. "Thanks for letting me in," Alex said, glancing around my apartment like he wasn't sure where to sit. I didn't have much to offer, just a few mismatched chairs and my cluttered desk, but it was mine. Comfortable, if a little empty. "I don't know why I thought you could help. I mean, you don't really—" I raised my eyebrows. "You don't really what?" He cleared his throat and ran a hand through his hair, looking embarrassed. "You don't really know much about relationships. I don't know who else to turn to, and you're the closest person I know who's not caught up in all of this." His words hit me harder than they should have. "Caught up?" I asked, crossing my arms, trying to mask the fact that the thought of him turning to me, of all people, left my chest a little tight. Alex shifted from foot to foot, awkward. "I mean, you're kind of, I don't know, outside of it. You're not in that world, you get me." He shrugged but gave me that half smile that made my stomach flip every time. "I don't know if that makes sense." I guess I'm not sure what I'm doing anymore, with Julia, with anything. I nodded, suddenly feeling something unfamiliar stirring in my chest. This wasn't the carefree, confident Alex, who I'd seen laugh and joke with his friends. This was someone struggling, someone lost, the kind of person I used to be, before. I learned how to hide it. The silence between us grew heavy, punctuated only by the sound of the rain tapping against the windows. Then, out of nowhere, he took a step closer. Just a step, but it felt like a mile. I could smell his cologne, something woodsy and fresh, and it wrapped around me in a way that made it hard to breathe. I forced myself to meet his eyes, but for a moment I couldn't focus. They were darker now, intense, and the weight of his stare made my pulse quicken. "Look, I'm sorry if I'm making this awkward. I shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice almost too soft, too unsure. Before I could respond, our hands brushed accidentally. Just a fleeting touch, but it felt like an electric shock, sending a rush of heat through me. I pulled my hand back quickly, suddenly feeling like I'd done something wrong, like I was walking on a tightrope that was about to snap. Alex's gaze flickered down to his hand, then back up to my face. The air between us thickened with something unspoken, something I wasn't sure how to name. He cleared his throat again, his cheeks flushing slightly. I didn't mean to make this weird." He ran his hand through his hair again, visibly uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, I'll just go." I didn't want him to go. I wanted to reach out to stop him, but the words didn't come. Instead, I nodded. "It's fine. I'll help you figure this out. Whatever it is." Alex hesitated at the door, like he was about to say something else, something more, but instead he just shook his head, as if whatever it was wasn't meant to be said. "Thanks," he said quietly, his voice almost a whisper, and then just like that he was gone. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the door. My heart was still racing, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Something between us, but what was it? Why did my chest feel tight every time I thought about him? I shook my head, trying to push it away. It was just a touch, just a moment, nothing more. But as I sat back down at my desk, I couldn't help but wonder, what would happen the next time I saw him? Would it be the same? Would he still be that confident, straight guy who had no reason to look at me like that? Or had something changed for him too? And more importantly, what was I supposed to do about it? Over the next few days, I tried to push the encounter with Alex out of my mind. But the problem was, every time I saw him, my heart seemed to skip a beat. It started small, just brief moments in passing. A wave in the hallway as we crossed paths on our way out, a casual nod when we both stepped out onto the building's shared balcony, our eyes meeting for a second too long before we both looked away, pretending it didn't mean anything. But it did. It meant everything. It wasn't just the physical proximity, though I couldn't deny that when he stood close to me, I could feel the warmth radiating off him like it was magnetic, drawing me in. It was more than that. Every time we exchanged words, it felt like something unspoken was hanging between us, a tension I couldn't explain but couldn't ignore either. One evening I was walking back from the corner store when I saw Alex sitting on the steps of the building, his head tilted back, eyes closed as if he was trying to block out the world. I almost walked past him, but something in me, something I hadn't recognized until that moment, pulled me toward him. "Hey," I said softly, and he opened his eyes, a surprised smile creeping across his face when he saw me. "Hey," he replied, a little breathless. His gaze lingered on me for a second, and for a moment it felt like time had stopped. "What's up?" "Not much. Just grabbed some snacks," I said, holding up the bag of chips I was carrying. "How about you? You okay?" He sat up straighter, his usual carefree demeanor back in place, though I could see the edge of something else underneath it. "Yeah, just thinking," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "You know how it is." I wasn't sure if I did know, but I nodded anyway. I didn't want to press him, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that there was so much more beneath. His words. I hesitated for a moment, then took a step closer. "Want to talk about it?" Alex shrugged, his lips curling into a small, almost shy smile. "It's just stuff with Julia, you know? I don't know what's going on anymore. It feels like we're not even on the same page, and I don't know how to fix it." I sat down beside him, our shoulders brushing lightly. "You've been together a while, right?" I asked, not sure where this conversation was going, but feeling drawn to him in a way I couldn't explain. "Yeah, almost 3 years," he said, his voice dropping slightly, like the weight of those years was heavier than he let on. "It was good, at first, but now, I don't know. I feel like we're two different people. And every time I try to talk to her about it, I just feel like I don't know, not the person she wants me to be." I watched him for a long moment, wondering if he even realized what he was saying. His words were raw, unguarded. This wasn't the Alex I'd always known. This was a man who was struggling, who felt lost, and who didn't know how to find his way back. "I get that," I said quietly, my voice almost a whisper. "It's hard when you feel like you're not who someone expects you to be." Alex's eyes flickered toward me, a mixture of curiosity and something else I couldn't place. "Yeah, I didn't think you'd get it." I could feel my chest tightening, but I kept my voice steady. "I've been there before, not with relationships, but with other things. It's hard when you feel like you're supposed to fit into a mold and you just don't." He nodded, his gaze softening. "It's like I'm just pretending to be someone I'm not," he admitted. And for a moment I saw the vulnerability in him, the same kind of vulnerability I'd been hiding for years. We fell into a comfortable silence, sitting side by side on those worn steps, the hum of the city around us filling the space between words. I found myself leaning slightly closer to him, our knees brushing ever so slightly. It was a small thing, but it felt like a spark, a fleeting connection that made my heart race. He didn't pull away, though, and I took that as a silent invitation to stay in this moment just a little longer. "So what do you want, Alex?" I asked, turning toward him, hoping the question didn't sound too intrusive. "What do you really want out of all of this?" He took a deep breath, like the question had caught him off guard. He didn't answer right away, instead looking out at the setting sun, the orange glow casting a soft light across his features. "I don't know," he said quietly. "I just want to feel like I'm being true to myself. I don't want to keep pretending. And I'm not sure how to do that." Swallowed, trying to keep my own feelings in check. "It's not always easy to figure out what that means," I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. I wasn't talking just about him anymore. I was talking about me, about everything I'd buried deep inside, the parts of me that no one could see. There was a long pause before Alex spoke again, his voice softer now, almost as if he was talking to himself more than to me. "I don't know if I'm ready to admit it yet, but I think I need to be honest with myself and maybe with someone else too." His words hit me harder than I expected. For the first time, I wondered if Alex wasn't just struggling with his relationship with Julia, but with something deeper, something he hadn't even fully realized yet. I didn't know if I was ready to be that someone he confided in, but a part of me couldn't help but want to be there for him. To be someone he could trust, someone who might understand. "You don't have to figure it out all at once," I said, my voice gentle. "You can take your time." He met my gaze, a flicker of something unspoken passing between us. The air felt heavier now, the tension thickening in the space around us. Our eyes lingered a little too long, and for a second I thought I saw something there, something in his eyes that mirrored what I was feeling, but then just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. He looked away, shifting slightly, the moment slipping through our fingers like water. "Thanks," he said, his voice a little firmer now, like he was pulling back, regaining control. "I should go. I don't want to keep you from whatever you were doing." I stood up with him, the space between us feeling more like an ocean now. "It's fine, I'm glad we talked." "Yeah, me too." His gaze lingered on me for a moment longer, before he turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the building, and as I watched him go, my heart was heavy with something I couldn't name. I didn't know what was going on between us, but I knew one thing. Whatever it was only just beginning. The next few weeks felt like a blur. I saw Alex more often, but each encounter seemed to carry a heavy, unspoken weight. We'd catch up in passing, share quick, almost awkward smiles, but something was always holding us back. We both knew it, and yet neither of us could name it. I found myself waking up each day, hoping for one of those small moments with him, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between us. Then one evening everything came to a head. I was sitting at my desk, working through a mountain of assignments, when I heard a knock at my door. It was Alex. He looked tired, his eyes red-rimmed as though he hadn't been sleeping well. My heart stuttered in my chest, not just because of the sudden visit, but because I could sense the weight of whatever was on his mind. "Hey," he said, his voice a little strained. "Got a minute?" "Of course," I replied, stepping aside to let him in. I gestured to the couch, watching, as he slumped down onto it, running a hand through his hair. He seemed lost in thought, as if he wasn't sure how to start. "What's going on?" I asked, sitting down beside him, trying to keep my voice calm even though I could feel the tension crackling in the air between us. "I don't know if I can keep doing this," he said abruptly, his words coming out in a rush like they'd been bubbling under the surface for too long. His eyes met mine and I saw the conflict in them, deep, raw and unresolved. "Doing what?" I asked, my heart picking up its pace. Though I had a sinking feeling I knew where this was going, he ran a hand over his face, clearly frustrated with himself. Us, everything." He paused, his gaze flicking away. I don't know what I want anymore. I feel like I'm stuck, like I'm trying to be someone I'm not for everyone else, and I'm afraid that if I keep going like this, I'll lose myself." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my emotions in check. I wasn't sure what was worse, the fact that I could hear the pain in his voice, or the fact that I had felt the same way for so long. But it was different now, wasn't it? Because now I wasn't just the guy watching from the sidelines. Now I was someone he was confiding in. "So what does that mean?" I asked, trying to keep the tremor from my voice. "What are you saying?" Alex looked up at me, and for a moment I saw the vulnerability in him again, raw, exposed. But then it disappeared, like he was pulling back, shutting it off. "I don't know," he said quietly, shaking his head. "I'm not even sure who I am anymore. I've been with Julia for so long, but I don't feel like I'm me. I don't feel like I've ever been allowed to be myself around her. And it's not just her. It's everything. I feel like I've been hiding for so long, and now I don't know what's real." I could feel the pit forming in my stomach, the coldness of the situation settling in. "You're talking about us, aren't you?" I asked, the words slipping out before I could stop them. There was a strange, trembling tightness in my chest, but I couldn't quite place it. Alex hesitated, his eyes darting around the room, unable to meet mine. "Yeah," he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what this is between us, but it feels like something, and I don't know if I'm ready for it." The weight of his words crashed into me, and for a second, it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I felt it too, the connection between us, the electricity that crackled in the space every time we were near each other. But I didn't know what to do with it. I had never known what to do with it. I'd spent my life hiding my feelings for guys like Alex, burying them deep, never allowing myself to imagine a world where I could be open, be honest. "I get it," I said, my voice tight. "You're scared, I'm scared too. But you don't have to hide from me, Alex. You don't have to pretend like this doesn't matter." He shot me a look then, one that felt more confused than anything else. "But I don't know what it means, though. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. With you." My heart sank. I couldn't blame him for feeling lost. But the truth was I couldn't keep pretending that it was okay for us to keep this distance, this uncertainty. I couldn't pretend I didn't care, because I did. So much. More than I wanted to admit. "I don't want to lose you," I said, the words coming out before I could filter them, my voice barely above a whisper. I wasn't sure if he heard me or if he was just lost in his own thoughts, but when I glanced over at him, I saw the tightness in his jaw, the struggle behind his eyes. "I don't want to lose myself," he said, his words heavy with the weight of everything unsaid. "I can't keep pretending like I'm someone I'm not." I didn't know what to say to that. The space between us felt impossible now, filled with unspoken words, fears, and doubts. There was too much we both needed to face, too much we were avoiding. "I can't keep doing this," Alex said, standing up suddenly. His voice was sharp, but there was a tremble there that betrayed the strength he was trying to put on. "I need time to think," I need to figure out what I want. I stood up with him, but the distance between us was so much greater now. Alex, don't... But he was already heading for the door, the sound of his footsteps fading as he left. And just like that, everything felt colder, empty. Like I'd been left with nothing but a ghost of the connection we'd shared, slipping through my fingers, like sand. I stood there for a long time, feeling more lost than ever. I didn't know how to hold on to him, or if I even could, but I knew this. I couldn't stop myself from caring, even if it hurt. Even if I didn't know where this was going, I couldn't let go. The days after Alex left were like walking through fog. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had broken between us, something I wasn't sure could ever be fixed. I tried to keep busy, burying myself in work, but the weight of his absence hung over me like a dark cloud, pressing down on me until I couldn't breathe. Every time I saw something that reminded me of him, his favorite coffee shop, the spot, in the park where we used to walk together, I felt my heart crack all over again. I knew I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. I couldn't keep pretending that I wasn't falling for him, even though it terrified me. Even though he had just walked away, leaving me with nothing but questions. But it was hard, harder than I could have ever imagined. I wanted to be angry at him for leaving, for retreating into himself, but I also understood. He was struggling in ways I couldn't even begin to fathom, and I had no right to make his journey any harder. Then, on a rainy Thursday afternoon, everything changed. I was walking home from the library, drenched from the rain, my thoughts spinning in a chaotic blur when I heard someone call my name. I turned around, startled, and found Alex standing across the street, his figure silhouetted against the heavy downpour, looking as lost and vulnerable as I felt. My heart skipped a beat. "Alex?" I called, stepping closer, unsure if this was real, unsure if I could trust what I was seeing. He didn't say anything right away. Instead, he stepped toward me, the rain soaking him through as he made his way across the street without hesitation. When he reached me, he didn't even bother to hide his frustration, his pain. His eyes were wild with emotion, the usual cool, detachment replaced with something raw, something real. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice hoarse, almost breaking. "I've been an idiot. I've been pushing you away because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of losing myself, of losing everything. I've worked for... But I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending like I don't care." My breath caught in my throat, the words like a punch to the gut. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but nothing came out. I couldn't believe he was standing here in front of me after everything. He had walked away from me, from us, and now he was here, drenched in the rain, apologizing. It didn't make sense, and yet it did. I could see it in his eyes, the same fear, the same vulnerability. I'd been hiding inside myself. "I don't know what's going on between us," Alex continued, his voice softer now, his eyes locked on mine. "But I know that I don't want to walk away anymore. I don't want to keep running from this, from you." And then, in the middle of the rain, with everything else around us disappearing into the storm, he stepped closer. His hand reached out, brushing against mine, tentative but firm. The contact was electric, and I could feel my heart beating faster, the emotions I'd been holding onto breaking free. I don't know why I did it, but without thinking, I closed the space between us and kissed him. It was nothing like I'd imagined. There was no grand romantic gesture, no fireworks, just the simple, urgent need to be close to him, to feel him, to know that we weren't going to let go this time. The kiss was messy, hurried, but it felt like everything. Like the storm around us didn't matter, like nothing mattered except for the two of us right here, right now. When we pulled apart, both of us breathless, Alex didn't look away. Instead, he smiled, a real smile, one that reached his eyes. I could see the relief there, the weight lifting off his shoulders. "I don't know what this means either," he said softly. "But I'm not scared anymore. Not of you. Not of me. I don't want to run away from this." I felt something shift inside me. It was like everything had fallen into place, like all the fears and uncertainties that had kept me from fully embracing what I felt for him were suddenly gone. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if things would be easy, But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. "I don't want you to go," I whispered, my voice breaking, and it wasn't just about him leaving. It was about everything I had kept buried for so long. "I'm not going anywhere," Alex said, his voice steady now, with a quiet strength. "I'm right here, and I'm going to stay here." And for the first time, I believed him. We stood there in the rain, soaked to the bone, but it didn't matter. In that moment, nothing else mattered. The world could have been falling apart around us, and I would have been okay because I had him. I had Alex, and for the first time, he was all in. It wasn't the perfect love story I had imagined. It wasn't neat or easy or without its complications, but it was real. It was us, and that was enough. The weeks that followed that rainy evening felt like a dream, one I never wanted to wake from. Alex and I took things slowly, letting the connection between us grow naturally. There were no grand declarations, no dramatic gestures, just small, meaningful moments that solidified everything we'd already built. The fears we'd once held onto seemed distant now, like echoes of another life. I remember the first time we held hands in public. It wasn't anything monumental, not like a grand proposal or a show of affection in front of an audience, but it meant everything. We were walking down the street, just the two of us, talking about nothing and everything at once. And then, without thinking, he reached for my hand, his fingers brushing against mine in that familiar electric way. I hesitated for a moment, a flicker of doubt crossing my mind. What if someone saw? What if we weren't ready to make this real out there for everyone to see? But then I looked at him, and I saw the same fear in his eyes that I'd once had. And in that moment it didn't matter. With a deep breath, I took his hand, and everything that had been holding me back melted away. The world didn't stop. No one shouted or pointed. And in that simple, quiet act, I knew we were ready. We spent more time together after that. Long walks in the park, late-night talks over takeout, lazy mornings where we just held each other and didn't talk about anything important, just existing in the same space. Our love didn't need to be defined by anyone else's standards. It didn't need to be loud or flashy, or anything more than what we felt. And every day, it grew stronger. The turning point came one evening in late spring. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow across the sky as Alex and I sat on the balcony of my apartment, a bottle of wine between us. It felt like the perfect evening, calm, peaceful, with the soft hum of the city in the distance. "I've been thinking," Alex said, breaking the comfortable silence. His voice was steady, but I could tell there was something he was holding back. "What's on your mind?" I asked, my heart suddenly beating a little faster. He turned to face me, his eyes filled with a quiet intensity. "You know how we've been taking it slow?" he asked. I nodded, not sure where this was going. I think it's time for the next step. For both of us." My pulse quickened, and I felt the weight of his words settle in. Was he talking about? "I don't want to keep living in this tiny apartment on my own," Alex continued, his voice soft. "I don't want to keep hiding pieces of myself from you, from the world. I'm ready. I want us to build something together. I want to move in with you." The words hung in the air, and for a brief moment, I felt a rush of emotions. Joy, relief, fear, hope. It was everything I had been waiting for, everything I had wanted without even knowing it. But even so, there was a part of me that hesitated, unsure if I was truly ready to take that leap. Was I really prepared to make a home with him, to make a future with him? And then I looked into his eyes that held nothing but trust and love, and I knew that I was ready. I had never been more certain of anything in my life. "Yes," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "Yes, I want that too. More than anything." Alex's face lit up, and I could see the relief and happiness flood through him. He leaned in, pressing his forehead against mine, and for a moment, we just stayed there, breathing together, sharing this quiet moment of understanding. Later that evening, as we sat together in the soft glow of the setting sun, I realized that the barriers that had once seemed so insurmountable, fear, doubt, the unknown, had crumbled away. The love I had been so afraid to embrace was now something beautiful, something real, something worth fighting for. and the future didn't seem so terrifying anymore. Because no matter what came next, we would face it together. In that moment, I understood that love wasn't just about the big moments. It was about the small ones too. The quiet ones. The ones that made you feel like you were home. And as Alex reached for my hand again, this time with a certainty I had never felt before, I knew without a doubt that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Together, I whispered. And I meant it more than anything I had ever said. And just like that, everything was right.